Is Marco Rubio outshining JD Vance? That may be the real political story coming out of this Iran deal. Because while JD Vance has been out front, taking the heat, defending the deal, warning Israel, and trying to look like the future of the Republican Party, Marco Rubio has been doing something very different. He's been staying disciplined. He's been staying careful. And maybe, most importantly, he's been staying clean. And this really matters for both men because the Iran agreement has become politically dangerous very quickly. Vance was supposed to come out of this looking presidential. He was supposed to look like the man who could take Trump's movement into 2028. He was supposed to look serious, steady, and ready for the world stage. Instead, Switzerland exposed him. He looked inexperienced and he looked green. But most damaging for him, he looked like the junior man in the room. Instead, Switzerland exposed him. He looked inexperienced and he looked green. But most damaging for him, he looked like the junior man in the room. And that's a huge problem if you want to be president. Meanwhile, Rubio is playing a very different game. Rubio is Secretary of State. This should be his portfolio. If there is an Iran agreement, there are Gulf allies to reassure. There are questions about Iran, Israel sanctions, inspections, missiles, proxies, and regional security. That's the job of the Secretary of State. But Rubio has not made himself the emotional face of this deal. Vance has. Vance is the one who has been out there selling it and is the one who has taken the punches. Vance is the one who very publicly warned Israeli critics not to fight Trump on the agreement. Vance is the one that Ben Shapiro went after, and Vance is the one who now has to explain why his performance in Switzerland looks so amateurish. Rubio, on the other hand, looked like the adult in the room. He's not making dramatic speeches or trying to win the internet. He's not trying to turn every camera shot into a campaign ad. He's letting Vance own the risky part. Then Rubio shows up later as a serious diplomat. That is smart politics. Maybe it's intentional, maybe it's not. Maybe it's just survival instinct. But either way, Rubio is benefiting from the contrast. Vance looked like he's trying to prove himself. Rubio shows he already knows who he is. Vance looks like he's auditioning. Rubio looks like he's working. That contrast really matters because 2028 is already sitting in the background of all of this. JD Vance wants to be Trump's heir, yet Marco Rubio is the one reminding people that experience still matters. Rubio has been around foreign policy for years. He understands the language. He understands the theater. He understands when to talk, when to stay quiet, when to take credit, and when to avoid being tied too closely to a fragile deal that could collapse at any moment. That may be the biggest difference between him and Vance right now. Vance is taking ownership of the deal. Rubio is managing distance from the deal. And if the deal fails, that difference could become very important. Because if this agreement falls apart, who gets blamed? Not Rubio. Rubio can say he was handling the diplomacy, reassuring allies and protecting American interests. But Vance is the face of it. He's the salesman. He is the one trying to make this look like a breakthrough. It's not. This is a dangerous place to be, and the optics are already damaging. In Switzerland, Vance did not look like the future president commanding the room. He looked green and experienced, someone being tested by people who did not fear him, did not respect him, and did not care about his political future. That's not what a rising presidential candidate wants. And this is where Rubio sure seems to be outshining him without even trying very hard. Sometimes politics is not about who talks the most. Sometimes it's about who avoids the trap. Vance fell right into it while Rubio seems just smart enough to avoid it. Sometimes it's about who avoids the trap. Vance fell right into it while Rubio seems smart enough to avoid it. Trump gets to take the credit if this works. Rubio gets to look serious if it survives. But Vance gets tied to the embarrassment if it fails. That's the problem. That's the trap. And it may explain why Rubio's quietness is starting to look less like weakness and more like strategy. He doesn't need to attack Vance or undermine him publicly. He just needs to let Vance keep standing in front of the cameras. Because every time Vance defends his deal, every time Vance takes another hit, every time Vance has to explain another bad image from Switzerland, Rubio looks more experienced by comparison. That's how political contrast works. One man looks exposed while the other looks controlled. One man looks like he's trying to become president while the other looks like he's already behaving like a statesman. It doesn't mean Rubio is suddenly the front runner, nor does it mean that Vance is finished, but it does mean that the 2028 conversation looks like it's changing dramatically. Because before Switzerland, Vance looked like the obvious heir to Trump's movement. After Switzerland, he looks much more vulnerable, while Rubio looks much more relevant. This trip has given Vance much to worry about. Vance should be worried about the Iran deal, Ben Shapiro, but the bad optics for Lucerne may be the biggest problem. His biggest problem is that Vance may have given the Republicans a reason to ask a very dangerous question. Is JD Vance really ready for this? And if they're asking that question, then Rubio has an opening. So yes, Marco Rubio may be outshining JD Vance, but not by being louder or chasing attention, but by looking like a statesman while Vance did not. And in politics, sometimes that's enough. JD Vance wanted this moment to make him look like the future. Instead, it may have made Marco Rubio look like the safer bet. Thank you for watching. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching.